In this video, we are going to continue our work with histograms, and we are going to be working with frequency tables being made from a histogram. As we can see here, we have the height of 20 trees. That number 20 is going to be important, and the frequency of each class. We can see that the relative frequency is shown, meaning the percentage of the data, not the actual number of trees. This is just a percentage of the total data. On the bottom, as you can see, that the bars are each divided half on one side and half on the other of these values. That is because these values are the midpoints. So we are going to use what we know to fill in our frequency table like we were doing yesterday. All right, so first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to fill in our midpoints because we already have those: 60, 90, 120, 150, and 180. Those are our midpoints. Now we need to get and then we can actually fill in the relative frequency as well. Our percentages, we have 20%, 30% or 0.3, 10% or 0.1, another 30%, and another 10%. And from there, we can actually fill in our cumulative frequencies as well. 0.2 plus 0.3 is 0.5. Because remember, cumulative frequency is you are adding the previous frequencies with that total. So we have 0.1. We were at 0.5. We have another 0.1. So now we're at 0.6. We're at 0.6. We have another 0.3. So we are at 0.9. And then we are at 0.1. And then that total will be 1. Because we're at 0.9, then another 0.1, we get 1. All right, and then these all total 1 whole. Those all total 100%. Okay, so now we need to get our class widths and then the actual frequencies. Okay, to get our class sizes, we know that the class width is 30 because the midpoints are all 30 apart. To get our class widths, we need to figure out what is halfway between 60 and 90, this line here. And halfway between 60 and 90 is going to be 75. Because the distance is 30, so halfway would be 15. So down here is going to be 15 less, which is 45. All right, so now we see that our first class starts at 45. And then it's going to end at, and then our next class starts at 75. And then we know that the class width is 30, so we can just keep adding. 105, 135, and 165. All right, now let's fill in our other boundaries. If this class starts at 75, that means the previous start class ends at 74. If this class is at 105, that means this class ends at 104. This class starts at 135, so this class ends at 134. This class starts at 135, so it has to, this class starts at 165, so this class has to end at 164. And remember, we can just keep adding 30, so this would end at 194. Those are our classes. Now, to get our frequencies, we know that there are 20 total trees, and we know that 20% of those values is in this class. So what we need to find is 20% of 20. In other words, 0.2 times 20 is 4. So that frequency would be 4. Because again, and also remember, to go from a frequency to a relative frequency, we divide by the total. So to go from relative to regular frequency, we would multiply. And remember, to find a percent of a number, you multiply. 30% of 20 values is 6. 10% of 20 values, again, remember, of means multiplication, is 2, sorry. 30% of 20 values is 3. Sorry, 6, not 3. And then 10% again of 100 of 20 values is 2. If I add all those up, it should total 20. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20. So that is our frequency table for this histogram. All right, let's look at another one now. All right, now we have the height of 50 trees, and the relative frequencies are shown, and the midpoints are shown. So first thing we can do is fill in our midpoints: 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. We know our relative frequencies, or our percentages. We have 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%. Wait, hold on. All right, we have 40, 20, and then I am all messed up here. 30% to 20%, 10%, 20%, and 10%. Make sure those should all add up to one whole. 0.6, 0.7, 0.9, and 1. That they do. Now we can do our cumulative frequencies. We have 0.4 to start. Add 0.2, we have 0.6. Add 0.1, we have 0.7. Add 0.2, we have 0.9. Add 0.1, and we have 1 whole. So that totals to be 100%. Now we need to find our classes. We know that from, so this line here, these are our midpoints. We know the class width is 20 because there's a distance of 20 between our midpoints. We need to find this value here, which is halfway between 20 and 40, which is 30. Then we need to get this value. If the class width is 20, that means that this is going to be 10. So for our boundaries, we know that we start at 10, and then we go up by 20, 30, 50, 70, and 90. Those are our lower limits because those would be, and then our upper limits, if this ends at starts at 30, this ends at 29, and then keep adding 20. 49, 89, and then 109. All right, so those are our classes. Again, we get our lower limits by just looking what's in between each of them. Halfway between 20 and 40 is 30. And then, so we know that the distance is 10 away now. And then to get our upper limits, where the first class, where the next class starts, we have to go back one to end the previous class. Now to get our frequency, we know that there are 50 values. 40% of 50 values is 20. 20% of 50 values is 10. 10% of 50 values is 5. 20% of 50 values is 10. And 10% of 50 values is 5. That, again, should all total up to be 50 values. 20 and 10 is 30, plus 5 is 35, plus 10 is 45, plus 5 is a total of 50 values. All right, let's keep going. Now that we have kind of done a little bit of everything. We're going to put it all together now. So now we have our values, and we're going to make a histogram. Oh, hold on one sec. All right, let's resume. Sorry, the announcement was going off. Okay. So we have here the ages of 20 people at a restaurant, and we want 4 classes. So first thing we need to do is we need to get our class width. To get our class width, we take the highest minus lowest and then divide by 4. Because we want 4 classes. Highest number is, what am I seeing here? 45. So let me replace that. Lowest number is 5. So class width is 40. Divided by 4 is 10. But remember, we also have to round up, because if you don't, you won't have enough space. You always, even if it's not a decimal, you still go up to the next number. So we have 40 divided by 4, which is 10. So our width is going to be 11. Because again, even if it's a whole number, you still have to go up to the next number to make sure that everything fits. So I know my class width is 11. I'm going to move that up a little bit if I can. Okay, so we know our lowest number is 5, and then we're just going to add 11. 5 plus 11 is 16, 27, and then 38. If this class starts at 16, this one ends at 15, and then add 11. 26, 37, and 48. Okay. Now we need to find our midpoint. Our midpoint we get by adding the 2 values and then dividing. 5 plus 15 over 2. Equals 10. Because 5 plus 15 is 20, divided by 2 equals 10. And then we're just going to, since our width is 11, we can just keep adding 11. 21, 32, and 43. Those are our midpoints. So now I'm going to label those down here. So we have 10, 21, 32, and 43. Those are our midpoints. All right, now, hold on, let me space this out a little better. And now we're going to find our frequencies. And I know normally that's kind of a pain, but again, we only have 20 numbers here to sort through. Okay, let's first find how many numbers are between 5 and 15. I see 5, 15, 10, 10, and 2 more 15s. And I believe that is it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now 6 out of 20 people as a percentage or relative is 0.3. Sorry. Hold on, bell's going off. All right. Let's keep going. I was just double checking myself. I don't know why I second guessed. All right. Let's go back. Now we need to find how many numbers are between 16 and 26. We have, let's see, let's change our color. 20, 25, another 20, and that is it. So we just have 3. 3 out of 20 would be 0.15 or 15%. All right, now 27 to 37. Let's go orange. We have 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I am realizing here that I actually missed a 25 in the previous class. So we're going to up that to 4. 4 out of 20 would be 0.2. Because I missed that 25. So let me cross that off in yellow. That's why we go slow. All right. Now we have our last class, 38 to 48. Oh, wait, but how did this whole thing got messed up? Because we did not include the 50. But that's okay. You know what? We're just going to kind of take that out. And that's okay. So let me actually change these. We're going to make these out of 19 instead. And that actually, no, we're just going to leave it. But again, this up here should have been 50 minus 5 divided by 4. Not the end of the world, but in general, just be careful because I was not. All right, 1. You know, actually, we're just going to change this to be another 45. That's what we're going to do. Okay, now we're back on that. Now we're back at it. Okay, so we have 6 and 4 is 10, plus 5 is 15. So in theory, this last class should be 5. Let's see. All right, so from 38 to 48, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And then 5. So those are both 5. So 5 out of 20 is 0.25. All right, so this totaled up to 20. This totals up to a 1 whole cumulative. So this should also total up to 100%. We start at 0.3, add the next column, 0.2. We now have 0.5. Add in the next column, 0.5, 50% plus 25% is 75%. Add another 25%, we get 100%. Last thing we're going to do now is we're going to make our bars. Remember, we want to use the relative frequency here. What happened? There we go. Okay. So for my first class, we want the relative frequency to be 30%. So half the bar is going to go on each side, like so. It's going to copy and paste this to go to the next bar. And then the next class, we only need 20%. So let's drag this down. I'm also going to drag this over a little bit so it looks more halfway between. All right. Now that means we got to drag all these over. All right. Next class, with a midpoint of 32, we need 25%. So I'm just going to copy in the bar again. All right, and 25% should be right between 20 and 30. So we're just going to drag this down about halfway between those. A little bit more. All right, it's not really going to let me drag it like exactly halfway, but again, it should be halfway between 20 and 30. And then last but not least, we have another 25% that has the midpoint of 43. And this line is going to be drawing down a little bit. Okay. And that is going to conclude our video. I had one more, but this is getting a little long, so you guys get lucky. All right, so you are now going to finish yesterday's assignment and then work on this week's homework. All right, bye guys.